A roadmap for success, pointing teachers in the right direction for small group reading fluency instruction at the elementary school level. Created by Angela Nagel of the American College of Education. There are a few definitions we need to go through in order for you to understand the aspects of this study. The first is reading fluency. Research describes reading fluency as the ability to read quickly, accurately, and with natural intonation. RTI, or response to intervention, is a model where reading is taught in increasingly intensive tiers of instruction. Tier 1 would be general education in a large group setting. Tier 2 has more differentiation and progress monitoring in a smaller group setting. And Tier 3 is when a student is receiving special education services. Dynamic RTI speeds up the process, as it allows students who demonstrate needs in reading fluency to receive Tier 2 services sooner than they would in the typical RTI method. We'll be following dynamic RTI as we put our students who fall below average into Tier 2 and Tier 3 services right from the beginning of the year to see how it benefits our students and catches problems before they become major issues. We'll be using an action research plan to conduct our process and make improvements for our teaching. Ross Fisher lists the following steps for action research. State the problem, create research questions, complete a literature review, define your methodology, compile a data analysis, communicate your findings, and develop an action plan. So let's begin with the problem at hand. Reading fluency is the most identified learning disability in my school building. Reading fluency is also a prerequisite across the curriculum for success, as it affects every subject area in its own unique way. My question is, can small group direct instruction lead to increased rates of improvement in our second grade students scoring below average in reading fluency if they start right from the beginning of the school year? My rationale is that Wilson, 2012, found that research shows that beginning readers benefit most from being taught explicit skills during intensive small group instruction. As I began to address my questions, I started with a literature review. My literature review contained several different parts. The first was in reading fluency. Each person I researched found that reading fluency is vital for a student's comprehension and success across the curriculum and in daily life skills. I also conducted research regarding intervention. RTI was supported by most researchers as the best method for catching problems early and addressing student needs. Based on my research, I decided to move most students that fall below average into Tier 2 immediately in August and giving them small group supports in order to best meet their needs. Finally, I looked up direct instruction and scaffolding articles. Based on this research, I found that scaffolding should begin with phonological awareness and move through letter sounds, nonsense words, and into reading fluency. By starting where the student actually is capable and moving them through the skills needed for reading fluency, I can best build the groundwork and have fluent readers by the end of the year. I then set up my methodology. I decided to collect my data using AimsWeb, an online data collection program that tests not only reading fluency, but also the skills that come beforehand. Baseline data was taken during the last week of August 2016, and final data was taken the last week of March 2017. All second grade students were assessed using the reading fluency probes at grade level. Students were then grouped into below average, average, and above average categories. I then took 30 below average students and moved them directly to Tier 2 services, or continued Tier 3 if they had an IEP already in place. 30 average students were also taken and put into whole group instruction. The assessment data will be used to compare how fast they improve their reading fluency. The school goal is for every student to improve their reading by 2 words a week. Students should advance their reading by about 56 words during the course of this study. This graphic, designed by Wilson et al. 2012, shows how to effectively implement small group instruction. This is the model that we use to implement our Tier 2 and Tier 3 services to our 30 below level students. As I looked at the data analysis for my study, I found that each group of students did advance in their reading skills. The group in Tier 1 advanced from an average of 62 words to an average of 104 words per minute. My Tier 2 and Tier 3 students started at only 16.87 words per minute, but advanced to 62.13. While they were still below average, which was 35 to 82, they still progressed at a similar rate of improvement. The rate of improvement per week is shown here. The national average for students scoring in the average category is 2 words per week. Both groups did not meet the national average. However, they both increased by more than 1.5 words per week during the study. In Tier 1, they increased by about 1.5 words per week, while in Tier 2 and 3, they advanced by 1.68 words per week. When looking at my findings, I found that while students in the below average category are typically expected to have a slower rate of improvement, when they received Tier 2 and Tier 3 services, they actually improved at a faster rate than their peers in Tier 1. The small group targeted instruction, therefore, may have a link to the higher rates of improvement in our students with special instructional needs and those who score below average in reading fluency. However, I did notice that in order to make causality, I would need further testing using a case study format, including a control group and an assessment group. In my study, I gave all students who scored below average small group instruction, and all students who scored average full group instruction. However, in order to state causality, I would need to give some students small group and some students large group instruction in both categories to see how they compared to their other peers. The final step for action research is to create an action plan. My plan consisted of 5 main steps. First, I would communicate my findings with my teaching peers and my building administrators. We would sit down together and schedule in time for small group direct instruction for all students scoring below average in reading fluency each day. Then I would create scaffolded materials, starting with phonemic awareness activities and moving through letter sounds, nonsense words, sight words, and then finally into reading fluency. Students who were above average could move into reading comprehension, but this was not addressed by my study. I want to create a reference library of assessments also for teachers to share based on the level of the student in question. This way, teachers could progress monitor on each level that the student was working in. For instance, some students may be working with phonemic awareness, while other students may be working with nonsense words. Finally, I would prepare assessments for students to begin in August and create a plan for grouping students based on my results of this study. I would like to thank the following researchers for contributing to my study. I would also like to thank my viewers. I hope you've learned something new and that your teaching improves and your students find more success academically in the areas of reading fluency and beyond.